Hello, fledglings. Welcome back. This is part 5 of the Delilah Black series, also known as the Immortal series. Please check out our Patreon, TikTok, and merch shop, all available. Links available in the video description. Enjoy! Alright, darling, roll up your sleeves to hide the marks, and then we can go inside. It's very thoughtful of the Ecubon family to invite us over to their daughter's wedding, and we wouldn't want you to and your adorable face ruining it by stealing the show, now would we? I hadn't accounted for this invitation originally, and such a short time to prepare means I could hardly do anything to cover you up. Here's a shawl, and you can drape it over your neck to hide the mark there. How I know them? Well, the Ecubons are known for their vast library of knowledge they possess. Most of their family has dedicated themselves to one issue in particular. The father is a famed pharmacist. The mother is an excellent, if not eccentric, pharmacist. The son is a very dedicated historian, and the daughter has dedicated her life towards solving crimes. You might notice that they're a bit quirky, so to speak. For example, although we can hear the music from here, none of them know how to dance. The daughter knows how to perform autopsies, but when it comes to healing the living, she might as well be a child. The son could tell you exactly what happened today 100 years ago, but wouldn't be able to solve a riddle if you gave him an answer key. And as they put it themselves, they know only what is absolutely necessary. By specializing and filtering their knowledge to exclude any useless trivia, they become brilliant in their respective fields and maintain an objective outlook. Yes, I am quite grateful for their objectivity. The first time I met any member of the family, it was their daughter. And as it turned out, she had solved a cold case under the name of Sybil Vane. And she could come to the conclusion that I was the murderer. I came clean to her, and she decided against turning me in for one simple virtue. My immortality and resources could be of use to her. She called on me several times, mainly to conduct research for her in dangerous areas. For example, she once encountered a problem in the fact that the room was covered in a poisonous substance, making her unable to enter in order to retrieve an item she needed. She called me, and I simply entered the room, took the item, and gave it to her. Her mother and father were also quite fascinated with me, and her brother took a liking as well. So ever since, I've simply been a very good friend of the family. They have conducted certain experiments with me, and I'm always happy to help. They are all very kind to me when compared to most people in this city. I believe I told you before that certain people think me to consume blood, children, or dabble in the dark arts to keep my youth. And the Ecubons are aware that these rumors are false and usually defend me when they hear them. Their status is complex, but they're quite close to being nobles. Now, I don't believe they included the basic information of who was to be wed tonight on the invitation, so let's enter the room and see what we find, darling. Simone's the one getting married? I would have never suspected that. She's never expressed any desire to be with someone else that I know of. I did hear she moved into a new place, together with some ex-soldier, but I wouldn't have expected this to come out of it. Oh, hello, Mrs. Byrrell. How does your husband do these days? I believe he was still trying to escape last time we spoke." "That's wonderful to hear." "Oh, this is my partner. We met at a ball some time ago." "Yes, I did say that, but I do believe that we're both already at an event we would have never expected to take place. For Simone Ecubon to get married, a mountain would have to move. And would you look at that, she's the one wearing a ring. So I suppose that if the impossible can happen for her, it can happen for me as well." That was Lady Biroth of the Affindale. Manticora, as you can see. I believe she's an acquaintance due to her expertise on chemical substances that alter the perception. I'll be talking to her later this evening and asking her to get us a few special treats. Nothing harmful, of course, but when it comes to extracting the venom from her own spines, I accept no substitute. The Ecubons surround themselves with people at the top of their respective fields, so that if they ever were to encounter a problem they couldn't solve on their own, they call up a friend for help. Yes, they're quite clever indeed. Now, let's see who else has an invitation. That man over there is a dog trainer. He owns a few dogs, which Simone uses to chase or track down the criminals she tries to catch. That lady there works at a homeless shelter. She has a great many contacts among them from which have become useful to her. How I know them? Well, I follow Simone on a few cases, and she introduced me to them. As far as I can see, Simone only invited those she had to use for at some point. No nobles, no nonsense. I do believe I'll quite enjoy this night. There's people from all different classes and all different areas. It's refreshing when compared to all those huffy, stuffy galas where everyone's acting so prudish and decadent. If I am correct, you're the only person here that nobody knows, which is quite unusual. It's not a normal occurrence for a new person to enter Simone's group of acquaintances. Don't worry, though, I'll be right there next to you, holding your hand through all of it. Some people here can be trusted less than others, but as long as Simone is here, they won't do anything. Besides, many of them will make amazing contacts. See that lady over there, for example. Yes, the one in the white dress and the fancy hat. She works in Parliament and can inform you about changes made before the newspaper does. And that hellhound over there owns a private security company that's better at securing location and venues than the police itself. Truly, many of these people will be incredibly useful for you in specific situations, but now I want you to meet the most important person here at the gala. Darling, this is Simone Ecubon. Simone, this is my darling. They're a flower trader with some degree of knowledge on poisonous flowers and mushrooms. More importantly, they'll be spending the better part of the coming year with me. Well, yes, it's been a long time since we met. Truly, I hadn't expected you to engage with a man, let alone get married. A doctor? Well, I suppose his charms weren't the only thing that you were drawn to then. Truly, if anyone would know how to choose a partner in life, it would be you. Will you be taking his name, or will he be taking yours? Simone Watson. Sounds like a proper lady, truly. What happened to Mr. Vane? We don't have to get too deep into that, but let's just say I had to dispose of him temporarily. He crossed a line, and I couldn't just take it. I knew you'd connect the dots. Yes, it was the fire. Do we have to speak about this? because it's an emotional subject. You know my relationship with James is complex, and I would like to end the conversation about this now. I'm sorry, Simone. As I said, I would rather not discuss it. This is your wedding. You shouldn't be trying to solve mysteries right now. You should be talking to people and having fun. Right. Mysteries are fun for you. I'm quite sorry. I wasn't operating under the impression that you were more of a simple personality. Please accept my apology. I hope you have fun the rest of tonight. When will the ceremony be taking place? Understood. Then we won't keep you here any longer. Take your place at the altar, dear. You'll be married soon, and we'll take our seats. Where do you want to sit, darling? If we sit down now, we can take the front row. Sounds like a good idea. What do you think of the venue so far? Utilitarian, much like Simone? It's likely she arranged a lot of this. Have you seen the one she's marrying? This Watson fellow ought to have quite a lot to give if he's able to sway Simone in her profound hatred for ceremonies like this one. Yes, she expressed that. I truly remember this exact quote. Religion is many variations, are simple another way for one human to motivate violence against another. Religion and ceremonies are motive, not something to be taken lightly. The only ceremony I choose to partake in are colloquial ones known as habits, and I'd rather you stop attempting to banish demons out of the Miss Black now. Yes, it was quite an awkward situation. A murderous priest had taken me captive, and after realizing he couldn't kill me, he attempted to exorcise me, which was, as Simone stormed in, and, as you might have inferred, started debating the existence of religion within him, until the police showed themselves at the scene. I believe I would have joined them as well, had it not been for the gag in my mouth. What can I say? If the conversation is interesting, I can't help but join in. You know that. You've seen me talking to those ladies at the ball last week. While you were talking to the Anderson twins and the lords about politics, I learned a thing or two about those ladies. Apparently, one of them has funded a theater show for her husband as an anniversary gift, while another chose to cheat on her with a farmhand. Those might not seem as consequential as politics, but they are lords and ladies of England. The lords may have an influence in Parliament, but the ladies have a great deal of influence on the lords. I'll keep myself quiet now. We wouldn't want to ruin this one ceremony that my lovely friend has decided to take part in now, would we? He looks adequate. The cane doesn't quite suit him. Must be an injury. Where does a doctor get an injury? Army, so military. Active combat posting? There's been, 2 wars in the last year? I should keep tabs on more. Actually, no, war's depressing. Do housewives of coal miners think about the Gulf War and its effects? Of course they don't. I need a distraction. I need something to do. Oh, don't mind if I do. I'm just getting a single slice of cake. We're allowed a single slice of cake, right? My lord, you came out of nowhere, my darling. You nearly made me jump. I might have been taking a very large slice of cake, yes. My darling, you know I shouldn't be allowed near cakes when I can't touch you. The last time during that tea party I took the entire tray. I'm barely as functional and respectable adult as it stands. You can't just abandon me to talk to people when I'm near a food table. Truly, though, it's not like there's anything wrong with it. No matter how much of this I eat, it's still not nourishment to me. I still look like what my painting looked like. Yes, actually, I remember that night when we met for a third time. James took a firearm to me and pulled the trigger. Normally it would have likely blown my face off, but once the shrapnel touched my skin, the damage was inferred to be my painting's visage. Come to think of it, I don't believe much of my paint-based visage is left, save for my skeleton. I've been burned, stabbed, drowned, shot, bombed, burned again, and staked through the heart. Yes, traveling to Transylvania did not turn out to be such a splendid idea. It resulted in a great many people assuming I was a vampire, and that in turn resulted in several stakes through the heart and skull. As I said, no damage was left on my skin, but it did manage to annoy me a great deal. I do hope dearly that you weren't planning to go on vacation there anytime soon. Speaking of vampires, how about we slink away to the corner of the room over there? It's nice and dark, and not many people can witness any atrocious acts I may be performing. Not that many of these people would care greatly, criminals and damsels sitting in the room together as if they were the greatest of friends. It's a rare sight in a strange world like ours. Do you see that panther girl talking to that man in a suit? He's happily married, and they both know that. Yet, with the permission of his lady, the man is going to take that panther girl home for some gentle domestication. He's quite a fiend for the exotic monster girls, and his wife is quite agreeable to it as well. How about that badger man talking to that lady wearing the white hat? She's a vampire and a renowned crime lord. The only reason Simone might find him useful is because of the simple reason that he's not a lawless criminal. He's written a strict moral code that he keeps to himself, too. His gang does as well. Arguably, he's been more useful to Simone than a good half of the police force has proven to be. And yet, here he is, speaking to a woman that would normally outrank him by so much that they wouldn't even think of speaking to each other. And then, there's this little dark corner over here where a well-dressed, innocent little flower trader is being pinned to the wall by Lady Black, a simple little moth who wouldn't hurt a fly, and their face is so close to a woman who is said to abuse the dark arts. A woman all dressed in black, a black dress too short for galas and too long for bars. A woman with jewelry collectively worth more than the queen's most precious palace. A woman who has blood on her hands, spilled in lust, pleasure, wrath, and pain. A woman who, even with all these people around, cannot for the immortal life of her keep her hands off you. During my long travels, I spent some time in China, where they... Something about throwing flowers? I don't quite understand it. The last time I was at a wedding, It turned into a steaming pile of bodies fairly quickly after the rings were giving out, and I don't remember many details after that. You look surprised. I think I told you about the wedding before, so it wouldn't be that. What exactly are you surprised about? That I don't know this tradition. Well, I suppose it's a fairly modern tradition, which already doesn't help. Added the fact that I don't exactly get many invitations to weddings. I don't like the look on your face. Well, I'll find you after this silly little ceremony is completed as well. I believe a couple doves is to leave after this. They've been gifted a night at the castle owned by one of the lords attending, and I believe they want to spend as much time together tonight as possible, doing the things we fill our days with. Was I supposed to let it fall on the floor? I know my reflexes are good and being tall help, but I don't quite understand why me catching it is funny. No, I don't think I'll leave this joke to you for you to enjoy. Should I toss it back into the air, or would you rather I take it home? Your call, Simone. All right, I'll take it back with me, darling. Do we have something at home we can keep these alive? No, I don't have a talent of keeping plants. It's a lovely bouquet, but I wouldn't be able to have them last more than a day. Now that that's over, we can freely gossip about dear Dr. Watson. I suspect he fought in the Gulf War? As a medic, of course. He does seem the type to keep a vow. Actually, he'd better be the kind to keep a vow. Simone would ruin him quite readily if she found out he wasn't loyal. And she, of all the people, would find out. Perhaps before the woman he shared a bed with would. He lives with her already. How did that come to be? Ah, a rented apartment. Guess I'll have to pay Barker Street a visit then, once they return from their little trip. 221, you said. Noted. I'll keep it in mind. And when I figure they're done with whatever Delilah might consider to do on her wedding night, I'll pay them a visit to congratulate them. Now, my darling moth, the pleasantries are over. How about we do a little dance together? Right, I forgot I need to teach you how to dance. Well, how about we do so now? The next song ought to be a waltz, so teaching you to dance should be simple with that. Besides, this beautiful short black dress is too pretty to not be danced in, isn't it? All right, now, it's very simple. You put your left foot there and your right foot there. Hand in mine, I'll lead. All you have to do is follow my footsteps and count with me, all right? We start in 3, 2, 1, go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. See? You've already got it. Each number is a step. It's as simple as that. Memorize what step goes with what number, and you've got the basics down. Swirls, twists, and all manners of variations are completely optional, but it's as simple as counting to 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So, now that you're dancing and nobody can read our lips reliably or make out what we whisper under the music, I want to describe what I saw last time I looked at my portrait. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yes, I'm opening up about it. I'm not going to show it to you yet. You've been very good, little moth, lately. But if you keep it up, I might trust you enough for that. But right now, a description will have to suffice. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a big step for me to show someone my painting. Much bigger than taking you in this year. Every person who has seen the picture is now dead, and most of them directly by these hands. That's why I don't want to show it to you yet. I fear I might hurt you, and as much as you like the pain now and then, I don't think you'd find pleasure in bleeding to death. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I will describe it to you instead, slowly, methodically, and as accurate as I can get without getting emotional. And when I'm done, we will stop our dance and go home, after eating a little something perhaps. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You keep counting and I'll start talking. The background of the painting, once a luscious garden, has wilted to extreme levels. Even the plants that would normally grow without care have died off, completely drained of life. The curtains of the room have rotted away or have been eaten by moths, leaving behind only subtle rags, barely hanging from the ceiling. The walls behind that seems to be crumbling as well, the concrete between bricks slowly wasting away by sheer decay. The wallpaper is no more, likely eaten by insects or scratched away by wild animals. My torso is that of a brittled skeleton, rotting and burnt flesh hanging loosely upon the bones, and little black dots I can only assume to be flies hang around it. The dress I wore those days I was painted is reduced to spoiled ash. It looks as if the fire burned it, eaten by moths, soaked in a river, and left in the forest until each individual thread was destroyed, one by one. The collarbones you like so much bear the scars of knives and dog bites, some of which I vaguely recall, and others more clearly. My chest is blown to shreds, and my rib cage being the target of so many individual attacks that even a single shallow breath closely would have turned it to dust, without need for a gunshot. And then my face, these rosy cheeks, these loving and nurturing eyes, it's all twisted beyond recognition. My skull is heavily withered, bearing the marks of swords, axes, hammers, and flintlocks. The skin is gone, and only a few threads of its flowing waterfall of hair I possess are still in place. 3 or 4 teeth remain, most likely in the back of the row, likely because the others have rotten out, and these only remain because they stood the test of time so far. Sorry, I try to keep them out of humor so that I'm not completely sullen. So I do not completely sullen the mood. I don't want you to be sad, my little moth. I hate it when you're sad. Continuing my description, my nose is replaced by a small strip of flesh that is still hangs over my skull in that general area, keeping the cartilage in place, even if only barely. And then finally the eyes, dear Lord, the eyes. Some part of this cursed wishes to taunt me, I believe. The eyes remain completely intact no matter what happens. I've stood in front of the painting, frantically stabbing into my own eyes, and yet nothing seemed to happen on the canvas. They are whole, hovering in their sockets from a lack of flesh, tissue, and staring at me wherever I go. They look into my eyes. They dig into them and never let go. They blame me and they judge me. while I was painted with a smile on my mouth, and the joyful tinge in my eyes is now gone. The eyes are the windows to the soul, and my soul seems to hate me deeply for what I have done, for becoming what I am. I have to force myself to look at the painting sometimes, because I know it will stare back with the most intense hatred eyes could muster. I know people sometimes use the phrase, "if looks could kill," but that would be an understatement. These eyes, my eyes, they break me down to my very core and dissect everything I have done and then punish me for it. They tell me the truth, and they show me the truth. They show me what my mind represses, and they show me everything. I couldn't bear to do more than glance at them, because I fear I might truly find my own death if I do. So, little moth, does that paint a picture in your head? Do you understand now why I wouldn't keep it in my living room or even let anyone see it? Yeah, I do feel better now that it's out there, even if just a little bit. I hope you can forgive me for placing this picture in your mind. I know it's horrifying. I have nightmares of it whenever I dream, simply because my mind can only fear that painting. Bombs, guns, crumbling buildings, they don't mean anything to me. The only thing I fear is in my attic, locked away behind chains, cloth, and locks. Every morning I go to it just to see if it hasn't moved, out of fear and out of curiosity. I don't know much of the two, but now I believe you've found your twist in the waltz. And I find myself a bit peckish, so let's go to the table, eat a bit, and then go home if that's all right with you. I'm glad I can share this with you, my little moth. It's a very big step for me to tell you my innermost fear and my greatest concern. I am not a respected noble, and I am not immortal, but I do have my own set of fears, even if I might seem invincible. It's good advice in your life, you know. Everyone has their weakness. Even a mountain can be crushed with the right idea. You just have to think calmly. If you keep calm, no task is impossible, little moth. Now let's go home. We've had a long night ahead of us.